Welcome to another episode of Thrive Like a Parent podcast. I am so excited to have Dr. Sahar Martinez. I feel like I should preface this with the fact that we probably will laugh a lot because we've already started laughing prior to hitting record. But Sahar is like one of my new, long lost best friends in the entire world. And actually was thinking about this earlier, Sahar, when I was on that speaking panel and you were giving input. I zoned in.
Was it love at first sight? It was love at
laser
first sight.
focused then, and I was like, I need to know her. I was like, she gets it. And then I was like, all right, I'm gonna float. And then I was like, yeah, I want to talk to her. I'm not gonna I totally was like, she's really cool. I want to talk to her. And then that's it. I decided that we're besties for life and you're stuck with me and you can't get rid of me. So, ladies
Likewise.
and gents, Dr. Sahar Martinez, will you tell everyone about yourself, who you are, and all the things?
Sure.
And it could be a very long story of your life too. You can share as much as you want. Yeah.
Welcome to my TED Talk.
Yeah. Thank you.
Firstly, I felt the exact same way. I was like, oh, here I am being codependent with my new friend, Brooke, for the rest of my life. Thank you so much.
Take that as a compliment.
I'm Sahar Martinez. I am a licensed marriage and family therapist. I own a group therapy practice in Southern California called the Process Wellness Collective. We recently lost a nonprofit arm of the practice called the Process Wellness Foundation, where we provide affordable mental health services from an equitable and diverse social justice minded lens. Beyond that, I'm a parent. I have 2 kids. I am married to my husband. We've been together for 20 years this December. We have not been married for that long. I want to make that abundantly clear. I was not a very young bride. But what else? I think that's it for right now.
You were not with your husband on your anniversary because you love
yes,
each
but I
other
was with
so
you.
much. And you have such a healthy relationship, which is the truth. That's not sarcasm.
It's true. I was with Brooke on my anniversary,
Yeah.
not with my husband.
Yeah.
Yeah, no, we've been together. It feels like we've been together since we were kids because we were in a lot of ways. We were 22 when we met and we've grown a lot together. And there is a romanticized version of the relationship, which is we've been together for 20 years and it's so great. And the reality of it is we've worked really, really hard to be where we are today, where we can be apart on our anniversary and it's not weaponized against either of us. And yeah.
When you say worked really, really hard, what does that mean? You know what I mean? Because people are like, oh yeah, she worked hard, but what is, I work hard too. And I want to stab my husband with a fork up his, eyeballs.
Yeah. So
I mean, sometimes you probably want to.
100% this morning.
Right.
Literally this morning, I was like, I want to rip your face off. I love you, but I also want to rip your face off. I think it's that. It's exactly that. The work hard piece of it is not we work really hard to be together. It's when things are really ugly, we commit to facing the ugliness. When things get really messy or when my feelings are hurt or when you disappoint me, I'm going to tell you how I feel.
Yeah.
And I'm going to tell you from a place that maybe holds some anger, but also comes from a place that's really vulnerable. I'm going to tell you why I'm hurt and what is hurting me. And that's the hard work of it.
Do you both do that?
We do both do that.
And are you both decent listeners? Did that have to take time?
We have learned to be. He's a better listener than I am. He's historically a better listener than I am.
Yeah, I'm sure Carter is too. That's fine.
I think because I listen for my job, it can be really easy for me to steamroll in my personal life, to just be like, oh, I know what I know and what I know is right. And I will take complete ownership of that.
Yeah.
And my own work has involved a lot of sitting back and observing and absorbing and listening to the people that I really care about while also learning to not listen to the things that don't matter.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. Yeah. I can do that with Carter. Family's
a whole different beast.
I'm like, mm-mm. I'm like, nah.
Mm-hmm.
I'm like, no, we're going to stay in my lane and we're going to be where I'm at.
Yeah. And I think you touch on something so important is that the relationship that we have with our partners, it is exclusive to our partners.
Totally.
The version of me that John gets, he only gets that version. Nobody else gets that. And that's by design. That's because you get the most vulnerable, authentic, real, tender, sometimes really shitty, but sometimes really awesome version of me. And I hope that I get that version of you. No one else gets that version of me.
Yes. I would say the same thing with Carter. I would say my children see most sides of that, right? But an intimate, connected relationship is obviously different than one with your children.
Absolutely.
but they do see the shitty, not so beautiful sides of me too, you know?
Mhm.
And then we talk about it and then we have uncomfortable conversations
Yeah.
and we repair or we we say, "Okay, thanks for sharing. I'm sorry that made you feel such and such," you know? I try as hard as I can to build a relationship and a dynamic within my home in terms of just exactly what it is. Meaning, this is just it. There's no facade, there's
Mhm.
no expectations, there's no purpose, there's no goal, there's no, keeping up with the Joneses. There's just none of that. It's just this is life and we're living it, and life is
Mhm.
hard, and life is sometimes fun and sometimes shitty and sometimes ugly and sometimes beautiful and reckless or chaotic or like it's all the things. And like we get to experience all of them together. And raising our voice is totally normal. Our kids raising our voice is totally normal. Like it's all normal because it's the life experience.
Exactly. Exactly. There's no bad way to none of it's bad, right? Like, none of
No.
it is inherently bad. It's just what works in the context of, like, this environment that we've created together and what
Mhm,
doesn't. And what works in my environment might not work in your environment, and that's okay, and that's okay.
mhm.
I think the kids piece of it is a really important piece because we try to be super transparent with our kids. And if John does something that pisses me off, I'm gonna say, "Hey," I might say to him, like, "Hey, you really fucking pissed me off in that moment, like, when you did that." I'm not gonna
Love.
say that to my kid in the same way, right? There's, like, a little bit of there's some kid gloves there. Or I might be like, "Hey, when you made that choice when you made that choice earlier, or when
Yeah.
you talked back to me, it really hurt my feelings."
Uh-huh.
Like, there is less of a filter when it comes to that partnership because
Totally.
I don't want there to be a filter in that partnership, and I don't think he wants it either. And the filter exists in parenting because I don't wanna traumatize my kid. I don't know.
Yeah. I mean, I kind of come from the lens of like my children are already traumatized, so like I
Yeah,
get a free pass. No, I'm just kidding. Not really, but kind of.
fair
I
enough.
mean, every now and then I say fuck. I'm not gonna lie. And
So
like I'm totally fine with that.
our rule at home is that the kids can curse when they're at home if it's not directed at another person and if it's
Mm,
contextually appropriate. So if like you stub your toe on the couch and it really hurts, you can say fuck. Like if we're
okay.
watching the Dodgers and they're losing in the World Series, you can say fuck. That's appropriate. Like, but you can't say it to one another.
In terms of what, you can't say it to one another like you're a fuckhead or like
Yeah.
don't fucking touch me. Like which
Yes.
one? Both?
Both. Yep.
Interesting. Okay.
Yeah. Don't
The
direct it
other
towards.
day, Harley and I were on a walk the other night and we were talking just about hygiene and like wearing deodorant. And he was telling me that someone at school in front of him, he was like, yeah, I could smell it. And he was like, and then I told this friend and I was like, well, like, let's not spread that. And he was like, but mom, he smelled so fucking bad. And I was like, okay,
Fuck, wait,
then.
Lord.
Well, we're doing it. And like when it just came out and I was not ready for it. So then I chuckled a little bit. And like clearly that's not something to laugh at. Your child like talking about another child smelling. You have to like be respectful of that. And we totally had the conversation. But because it like caught me off guard and I laughed, he was like, shit, man, it was just so fuck. And he like just kept going. And I was
Mhm.
like,
Okay,
okay,
we're
well,
done now.
yeah, let's hold on. Like
Mhm.
we're in a child adult conversation, not like an adult adult conversation.
Yep.
But he'll slip it in. He'll slip it in for sure. And I actually believe and have studies and I'm happy to send people, but it says that cursing is very healthy, very healthy.
Hard agree. It's expressive, right? Like, there's expression of language, and I think I come from a cultural background where historically we're taught to suppress,
Yeah.
and whether that was through language or through just existing as a woman or whatever it is, and I don't want any part of that in my own life for myself, for my kids, for anybody.
I would say that that's like my mantra in life. I would say that I was absolutely suppressed and now I'm like, take it all or leave it. Like it is what it is, you know? But it's hard to exist in that when other people have expected you to be like they didn't ask for you to change. Like they liked who
Mhm.
you were before. Well, you know what? I didn't necessarily like who I was, right? But it's the people who imposed those suppressions, if you will, on you. And it's not even that it's they're at fault either. It could be because of how they grew up
Yeah,
or what they were taught or what they were taught to believe. But that's the hardest part is like, can you accept the real version of me, the truest version of me, right? And still love me,
right,
right?
right. And I think, like, we have to just as a whole understand that we are all meant to evolve.
Yeah.
And you can either choose to be along for that evolution or not. But either
Uh-huh.
way, it's happening.
Mhm.
And if you're committed to a version of you that existed in the past, that's okay. That's for you, but that's not for me. And if I need
Totally.
to exist in the past for you, then I exist in the past for you, and you don't belong to my future. And that is what it is.
I think once I started doing the work on myself and like having these like ahas and growing as an individual, it was
Mhm.
like it feels so good. Like it
Yeah.
feels so good to like grow and learn and expand. It's not that it's like addictive, but it just feels so it feels so healthy in such a like a humanizing way, right? That it's like, why would I ever go back there? Why would I ever make myself small again? Or why would I ever, you know? And yes, for anyone who chooses to live a certain way and maintains where they're at and they potentially don't choose to grow in whatever aspect or life or shape that looks like for them, that is their own journey. That is their own path.
Mhm.
And they you get to decide that, right? It's not a judgment of
Absolutely.
like, I always tell clients, like, this is not a hierarchy. This is not like a you've done the work, so like, oh, we don't associate. Like, mm-mm. I was like,
Right.
no, like that's not what this is. We have to do the work and be humbled and accept that we are all in different phases of lives. We are all shaped differently. We are all believe different things. We
Yeah.
all have different experiences that shape who we are, and we have to accept the human in front of us for who they are, right? I have a question for you, which I already asked you earlier. Will you well, let's first hold on. Before I ask the big question, will you talk to everyone about perimenopause and how it plays a role either within your life or your practice or your clients or because I feel like you're a beautiful voice for it as well as it was very enlightening for me that week.
Um, so a lot of like where I land in my professional work is informed by my personal experiences. And I
Yeah.
think at a time when I was having my kids, which was I started having kids, I had my first child a decade ago. I got really interested in like really like grounding into training in women's health because I had struggled with postpartum depression and postpartum anxiety, postpartum PTSD, like all these things that I didn't know were things. And that kind of led to dipping into like the hormonal health piece of it. And if I were to look back, like I think my experience with perimenopause probably started in my late 30s. And it was a lot of like, "Oh, I don't feel connected to my body.
Yeah.
And my sex drive is at 0. And I feel like my body doesn't belong to me. I feel out of control in my own body. I'm working out and I'm doing all these things and I don't feel strong and I'm not seeing the things that I would see when I was working out in my 20s, let's say. And then on top of that, I had this idea that like, oh, menopause is so far in the future. Like that's going to be for when my kids are teenagers or older and it's going to be hot flashes and I'm going to be sweating. I'm going to be melting. I'm essentially going to be like the witch in Wizard of Oz melting. Like that was it for me. I'm like, that's what's going to happen. And I reached a point in the last couple of years, I'll be 43 in January. And probably around when I turned 40, where I was like, something is happening in my body and I don't know what it is, but I'm going to find out.
Yeah.
And it was a lot of, like, going to my doctor and saying, "Hey, I can you check my hormones? Like, I don't really know what's going on, but I'm having regular periods, so maybe it's not menopause, but there's something."
Yeah.
And they were like, "Everything's fine. All your labs came back fine." And I'm like, "Great, great, great. But so can you tell me why I have this crazy brain fog and
Yeah.
this weird itchiness in my ears and why I have breakthrough anxiety like at different points of the month, even though I'm on anxiety medication?"
Yes.
And a list would go on, right? And they
Yes.
were like, "Yeah, it's just, I mean, you're getting older." And I was like, "Sick. So I'm just supposed to do this like for the next how until I no longer have a period?"
Right.
And I was like, "That's not gonna work for me." And so I started to dive into not so much like the medical portion of it. I was like, "I'll get to that when I'm ready." And I wasn't ready at that point yet.
Yeah.
But I wanted to look at like the systemic version of it because these were all things that were impacting my day-to-day life. I was irritable towards my kids, towards my husband. My anxiety would break through, I would isolate from my friends. Sometimes that isolation would last months at a time where I just would
Mhm.
not return text messages, not return phone calls, and just completely like dive into myself. Right. And I think that looking back at that, like those were the hardest parts of it. The symptoms of it, those were hard, but it was like how it impacted the systems around me. like how it
Mm.
impacted how I connected with people, my friendships, my marriage, my relationship to my children, feeling like I didn't have language to put around what was happening. I couldn't exactly describe it because it felt so all over the place. It was like,
Mhm.
I feel like I'm PMSing all the time, but I also feel rage all the time. And I'm not postpartum anymore, but like, am I still postpartum? And I'm not, you know what I mean? Just like all this back and forth. And we talked about this a little bit before we hopped on this call, but like, then there was this piece of like, all my doctors were telling me that I was fine. They were like, nothing's wrong with you. And I was like, I feel like everything is wrong with me, you know? And I was talking to my therapist, my doctor, my psychiatrist, like, no one was giving me answers. And
Wow.
I'm the kind of person, and I feel like we probably land in the same place on this. Like, I'm like, great, you're not going to give me answers. I'm going to find my own, you know, like, cool. There has to be a solution here.
Yeah, like,
And
"Nope,
I
that
will,
doesn't suffice. I'll see you later." Like,
yeah, yeah.
"Okay."
Like, thank you.
Or, "I
Goodbye.
won't see you later. I'll go find someone else." Yeah,
Exactly,
yeah,
exactly. And so that's kind of what I did. Like I started to really look at the women that I was working with and what they were coming to me for. And it was a lot of like anxiety. I think I might want a divorce because I hate my partner.
yeah,
I'm resentful towards my kids. It was all of these systemic things, right? And it all went back to we were all around the same age. We were all around a similar phase of life.
mm,
They were all enough years out from having children
mhm,
where it wasn't a postpartum thing, or they were childless by choice.
yeah,
They didn't have kids. And they were all going through though this similar space of something is happening and I don't know what it is. Right. And I was seeing it in my individual clients. I was seeing it in couples that were coming to me that were like, where the female partner would be like, I think I hate him.
yeah,
I think I want to no longer be married to this person,
yeah,
you know? And it's like we would look at, okay, what's going on? What has changed? And nothing had changed. Nothing had
mhm,
changed externally, but that person was changing and there was no context for it. So the more I started to look at this, the more I was like, there's got to be something here. Like, we got to be looking at this. And so I've just kind of over the years really like I really had first dove into this work. And it's a lot of what I do with my clients is like, okay, great. Here are your options medically. Like, and there are a lot of, there's hormone replacement therapy. There's so much research around this now, like debunking all of the claims that HRT causes cancer, right? Which we know is not true. And that's great. Get on the patch, get on a testosterone shot, get on a pill, whatever it is. What about all this other stuff here?
yeah,
Because that's going to make you feel better. But what about everything else that's happening? And like, that's what's really important to me. Like, I want to know, how do we start to create that internal repair to adjust to this new transition in life? How do we work through the years and decades of what we're taught to believe about this phase of life and kind of unlearn all of that and then create a new path for ourselves on what it really means?
So, do you find that HRT really helps with all the symptoms that individuals are feeling? Did that take care of the physical and I guess emotional symptoms
So
of what was
HRT
showing
is
up?
the short answer is yes, HRT helps. The longer answer is HRT is tricky. There's a
Yeah,
lot of different options and it's a lot of trial and error. And so
yeah,
even that takes time, right? So it's like you can get on the patch and that patch might not work for you. You might need a different kind of patch. The patch in general might not work for you. You might need something else. And so
mhm,
there's a commitment that it takes there where it's like, I'm going to commit a couple of months to figuring out what works and what doesn't,
yeah,
you
yeah,
know, and that's hard. That's also really hard. And so this is why like the systemic support is important, right? This is why it's important to say like, okay, this is how I feel, right? I'm going, and that support, like, transparently, it doesn't have to be with a therapist, right? This
yeah,
is not a like systemic support, like call me at 1-800 Dr. Sahar. Like, it doesn't have to be that, right? But it can be like, can we openly talk to our friends about this? You know, which I think like we're having a lot more dialogues around what it means, what actual rest means, right? In a culture that is so focused on like the thing, what I hate the most, the phrase I hate the most is like, women can have it all. It's like, what does that mean? So like, I have to now work a full-time job and full-time take care of everything at home and own my own business and be successful and everything else. Like,
right.
I don't fucking want that.
No, fuck
Like, I
that.
don't want to do it all. No, thank
No,
you. I
yeah,
reject,
facts, yep.
you know?
I saw last night the post, and I now wanna go watch the 60 Minutes of
Mm.
that doctor. I don't wanna say his name wrong, but
You're a Tia.
yes, thank you. Because I do think that there is still misconception, and I am not on HRT yet, but what I will say, and we didn't even explain how, like, we said that we're best friends and we're like, lovies for life. Like, I met Sahar at the Mother Collective, which is one of the speaking panels that I did recently. And I stayed for the rest of the weekend and fell in love with many humans there. And Sahar did a speaking portion of the weekend where, I mean, long did we sit there for? 2 hours, maybe?
2 hours. Yeah.
Yeah, where everyone was just discussing how they've either gained weight and they're doing all the right things and they can't, like, all of a sudden it's like they hit a certain age and it was, or the itching of the ear, like all these symptoms. And I raised my hand and I was like, is anyone not feeling these? And Lauren was the only other person that said
Mhm.
that she wasn't.
Mhm.
But I'm not going to lie, Sahar, after hearing all of that, coming home with it, and yes, I was like we said earlier again before we started recording, that Mother may have taken a few decades off of my life because it was that fun in the best way
In the
possible.
best way.
In the best way possible. But like, I definitely had some healing to do. I'm on a cleanse right now and I'm on my third week of it. I feel so much better than I did on week 1 or 2. And so
Mhm.
that is taking care of some of it. But
Mhm.
there's certain things that I am recognizing. Like, I used to get snappy with the boys and I was like, my period just needs to come. Like, it
Yep.
just fucking needs to come. And like, that's
Yes.
where I'm at. And like, if I like snapped at them, I was like, yep,
Mhm.
we're almost there. But
Mhm.
now I've recognized that it's happening almost 2 weeks, and I literally have just started noticing this. Like, my body's like, "Oh, Brooke, you're turning 40. Welcome." It literally has, like, a time clock. It's like
Uh-huh.
inside, it's like, it's like
Yep.
the gig is up, you know?
Mhm.
And all of a sudden, within the definitely last month, I was like, okay, well, it hasn't come yet. And it shouldn't come yet, but
Mhm.
like, I'm still a raging bitch. So we're going to pay attention to that. But I think because of these conversations, I've just listened in more to my brain and body. And the one other person who was like, no, Brooke, I'm not feeling these, which her name is Lauren, she and I had a subsequent conversation. And she and I both have Hashimoto's. And
Uh-huh.
she has had doctors along the way who have helped her get the support she needs, whether it's thyroid medication or this or that. And I kind of think that part of her not feeling these symptoms is partly because she has been looked after in certain ways. And I was curious if that was me too, because
Definitely.
some of the Hashimoto symptoms are very similar to perimenopause. And so, have I been treating Hashimoto's or have I been treating some perimenopause for 2 years now, right? I found that very, very interesting. And from Mother, I found Tracy, who is a nurse practitioner, but functional medicine. And I just had such lovely conversations with her that I was like, yep, you're going to figure this out. You're going to figure me out. And I've
Yeah.
had tons of blood work. I've gone to tons of different doctors. I've gone to California when I was diagnosed with Hashimoto's to like you said, like, I'm gonna go find the root. I'm gonna go figure it out, right? But I now have hope and I'm like a little like, okay, let's go.
Let's get the
Like, I
show on the
wanna dive in and see how good I can actually feel.
Yes.
Like, actually.
Yeah.
Because even when you said, like, I was working out in my 20s and it's not like working out is not doing what it did in my like now, I'm like, yeah, I'm still working out the same way, but muscles have shifted a little. So I'm
Mhm.
like, interesting. Like, it just kind of all very naturally clicks. But I think that in particular, I would say my audience is probably just stepping into this era. And so I came back from Mother being like, we're going to talk about this more. We are going to do it. We're going to bring it up. I
I
don't
love that you, like, made that connection between Hashimoto's and, like, the possibility of perimenopausal symptoms, and I reflect back on my own journey and hitting my, like, mid to late 30s and being absolutely convinced that I had PMDD because the week
Wow.
before my period, I was just I was a shell of myself. The fatigue was crazy,
Yeah.
the irritability was off the charts. There were times where I was like, "I don't care if I don't wake up tomorrow." Like, I would be that depressed,
Wow.
and I knew the logical part of my brain knew, like, you're gonna get your period and you're gonna feel fine. And that's what would happen. I would get my period and I would feel totally fine, completely back in my body, completely typical for me. And so I learned to anticipate that that week before my period was going to be
Hell.
absolutely crushing and I was gonna have to
Yes.
just white knuckle it through and then it would be okay. And then that week turned into 2 weeks before my period. And then it was like,
Oh.
okay, maybe this isn't PMDD. Maybe this
Yeah.
is something else. And at the
Yeah.
time, I was just like, my anxiety has just gotten worse. I've had anxiety. I have had generalized anxiety disorder and panic disorder my entire life. And I'm like, maybe I'm just getting older and it's getting worse. And I look back on it now and I was like, that was probably the first signs of perimenopause for you. Like, that was probably it. That was the first moment of something is shifting hormonally inside of you at 37 that is significantly different than what it was like when you were 34. And I can
Mhm.
look back on those times and I would do the workouts that I had been doing for years at that point, and I would feel like I was dying.
Dying. Oh my gosh.
Feel like I'm the person where like it's hard for me to get to the gym, but when I get there and I work out, I feel great
Yeah.
afterwards.
Yeah.
And I would do the exact same workout and I was like, I feel like I'm going to vomit and pass out at the same time. I don't know what's happening in my body, you know? And it was just that no longer worked for it was no longer what I
Yeah.
you know? And so now it's like there's been a whole restructuring for me in the last year and a half around like really sitting with and dropping into what is it that I need,
Yes.
right? And how do I do that? Right?
Yes.
So what I need is I need to move my body. What
Yeah.
I don't need is a high intensity workout. It actually makes it worse for me.
Yep.
It puts my body into fight or flight, and that doesn't work for me. It gives me my anxiety gets worse, my fatigue gets worse, I have a hard time it impacts everything, right? So I work out with a trainer twice a week and we lift heavy, but it's gentle and he's trauma informed, which is
Yeah.
amazing. You
Yeah.
know, where he's like, "Oh, that's activating your parasympathetic nervous system." And I'm like, "Joey, say less. I
Yes.
will agree with
Yes.
me for life."
Yes. I
You
think
know?
I might have messaged you. I think I did. Either way, I went to a workout class. Yes, it was a very hard workout class, but I went to this workout class, I think the week after. Again, mother that took decades off my life. And if I could have fucking crawled
You
out
voice
of
cited
that
me this,
room,
and I was like, "This is so relatable."
I was like, holy shit. Like, I was like, I'm dying. Like, I am dying right now. Like this is like the fatigue and I
Mhm.
like to watch my form. So I'm a front row girl, not because
Yeah.
I'm like, look at me, but it's because I like the
Yeah.
visual. I think that stems just from me dancing and having a
Mhm.
visual and the dance studio and things like that. And I'm like, okay, well, crawling out of here is definitely not an option. Passing out isn't either. So like we're gonna get through this. But I was dying. Like I have never felt that much fatigue in my life in a workout class like that. And I was like, okay, well, something's not right with my brain and body and we're going to work this out and figure this
Right.
out. And I think for me too, I have done it mainly through holistic route, dietary and
Mhm.
the dietary for me is so restrictive and I feel incredible. Like I feel incredible when I stick to what my body needs and what my body knows, but it's extremely difficult to be so restrictive um 24/7. So I would like to see what kind of support I can get and see how good I can actually feel with a little bit more support than just dietary at the moment.
Yeah.
And I'm
I think
excited.
what it comes down to and, like, what you're speaking to is that there's no one size fits all approach here,
Totally.
right? Like, it really has to be, like, can you make the conscious choice to no longer white knuckle it through
Yeah.
life and
Yes.
say, "Okay, I this doesn't work. I have to slow down, and I have to see what are my non-negotiables." Like, I have a handful of non-negotiables that are, like, I have to get to my workout twice a week,
Yeah.
non-negotiable. I
Yeah.
have to always have a water bottle with me or else I will not be hydrated. I have to
Yes.
prioritize protein, which I know everyone's so sick of hearing about protein, but it's where my body feels the best. I don't think that's right for everybody, but I know
Yeah.
that's right for me.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? I don't have to, but I really try to like limit my screen time at the end of the
Mhm.
night, which is hard. I love a scroll at the end of the night. Like,
Mhm.
it's fun. It's
Mhm.
how I decompress. But it's like, all right, if I want to sleep well, like I got to do my whole sleep routine. And I mean, if you had told 22-year-old me that like this is where I would be at 42, I would have been like, you're crazy. 22-year-old me who like I don't even think I washed my face on most nights going
Totally.
to bed. It was
Same.
just like I'm gonna face plant here, like as close to my bed as I can get. And hope my door's locked. Like, and now I'm like I have a whole 17-step sleep hygiene routine where I'm like taping my mouth shut and
Oh
have
my
a weight.
gosh. Do you tape your mouth shut?
I do it all, babe. I do it all.
Wow. Do you feel like that helps?
It helps me because I sleep with my mouth open naturally and
Okay.
I don't get good sleep. So again, like this is
At least
I
spiders won't get in your mouth. I mean,
I that one time that one study that came out, we're like, we all
I
eat like this many spice. I was like, "Ugh, that's gross. No, no, thank you. But again, like there's so much information out there on like, if I see one more Instagram reel or TikTok that's like 5 ways to cure your perimenopause or whatever, I'm gonna shove pencils in my eyes.
I know.
This is not that, but it is about like the trial and error piece of it is like figure out what works for you. Like I can't work out on an empty stomach. I spent decades of my life working out on an empty stomach. I can't do
Yeah.
that. Now I'm
Yeah.
like, I need my protein bar. Here's my creatine. I don't even
Yeah.
know anymore. Like,
Yeah. I think
it's like,
that the world has gone to it's clickbait, right?
mhm,
3 minutes to regulate your nervous system, or the 5 keys to support your perimenopause, or like 30 seconds to like fix your vagus nerve or reset your vagus nerve. I'm like, okay, best of luck. Like best of luck. Right? Like that's all A, clickbait, and B, no one has the attention span because we all have the attention span of like
a flea.
bees at this point are like gnats to it's so it's like, oh, okay, you can fix me in a heartbeat, cool. It's not about that. Like long
No,
term feeling good in your body, feeling good in your life takes time, energy, and effort. It
yep.
really does.
Yeah, it really does. And it's so much of it, like, I think we really discredit and discount like the impact of doing this in community.
Yeah,
Like so much of the white knuckling of being a woman is about doing it alone,
you're
right?
right.
Like I don't need help. I can do it by myself, whatever. And it doesn't work. It part of our dysregulation is because we're not meant to live in isolation.
Totally.
Yeah.
Totally. I think part of the reason for me that I connected to all of you at Mother so much was for many years I did do it alone because
Hmm.
I had no time. Like I
Yeah.
had no extra time to like my community was my actual community, right?
Yeah.
And the women who stepped into Thrive were my community and still
Hmm.
are and will always be. And like, that's where I found community, but at the same time, I literally didn't have much outside of that, but that's because I had no capacity for it, and very slowly over the course of many years, I would say, like, "I'm lonely, I need more friends," or, "I want to be in community with people more." Sometimes you find communities and you're like, "Oh, yeah, this is my jam." And, like, I have a few communities, whether it be women in business or this or that, like, I have a few communities now that I'm like, "Oh, yeah, this is my jam." But then I got to Mother and I was like, "Oh, no, 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 but this is really my jam," right? And so it's just such an open forum to, like you're saying, live in community and talk about all the things that are going on with you and talk about the dark, dirty, ugly things and just be like, cool, I still love you for you, you know? And
Yeah.
that is not, that is, I would say, how we try to build our community within what we do. And I'm sure that's exactly how you build your community within your practice and everything that you do. But that's not in every community. It's just
No.
not. Just an
No.
open come as you are.
Yeah. And I think, like, you bring up such a good point. It's like our community doesn't have to be like the 5 girlfriends that we go to brunch with once a week, right? It
Totally.
can be like it can be your baseball mom friends or like
Yeah.
the moms you see at drop off or,
Yeah.
at work or whatever it is. It's like find your people and put yourself out there. It's hard to make friends, period.
Totally.
Like it's hard to make
Totally.
friends as an adult.
Dating. Like it's for sure dating.
Yeah. Like I would say I would even dare to say it's worse than that. It's harder than that.
Totally.
Yeah.
Totally.
And, like, we have to do it, and you have to know
Yeah.
that, like, you're not gonna hit it out of the park every time, right? You're
No.
gonna have duds, and it is what it is, but at the end of it, if, like, you can land somewhere or a couple places and just be like, "I can reach out to these people, and they will see me and hear me and understand me, they'll support me," that's what more can you ask for?
You know what else I think is a necessity to finding a community that aligns with you is being enough for yourself first, because my community looked extremely different when I wasn't enough for myself in terms of like I was going into these communities hoping they liked me. hoping
Uh-huh.
that like they would want to be my friend, hoping
Yeah.
that like it was almost like, oh my gosh, I have to say yes to the thing because if I don't say yes to the thing, they're not going to invite me again. And I want to keep getting invited so that I can be part of the community. And like that is fucking exhausting.
It
And
is.
that's part of the reason why I was so lonely is because
Mhm.
I had such a huge thing happen in my life that my whole life shifted and changed. And I needed to find people where I was at. And very
Mhm.
slowly, the other humans that were already around me didn't necessarily feel aligned anymore. And it
Yeah.
was a slow trickle of just like, okay, well, but it hurts, right? Like there's a mourning
Yeah.
process when you lose a friend, but now it's, hey, I'm here. Like we can chat, we can hang,
Mhm.
like, but like cool if you don't want to. Like
Yes.
I'm
And
cool.
also cool if I don't want to.
Right.
Yeah.
Right. A
Yeah, I
thousand
relate
percent.
to that so deeply, Brooke. Like, I spent more years than I would like to admit being like, "Please like me. Please
Yeah.
be my friend. Please invite me to
Yeah.
the place." Even if I didn't want to, or I didn't
Want to
feel safe
go.
with that person, or I didn't wanna go or whatever, or that person wasn't unkind to me or mean to like, whatever. And now I've firmly landed in a place in the last couple of years where I'm like, "I'm good." Like,
Yeah.
I'm good being on my own, but I also feel
Yeah.
really good about the people that I have in my life.
Totally.
Like, and
A
that doesn't
thousand
mean
percent.
when friendships end, it's not absolutely devastating. It is, and it happens, and you have to grieve it and whatever. And what used to happen for me is a lot of like, what did I do wrong? Why does this person no longer want to be my friend? Like that kind of rumination. And now I'm like, okay, like that wasn't, you're not my person, and that's
That wasn't
okay.
meant to
And I can
be.
feel sad about it, but like that's okay.
Yeah, and that was a beautiful, lovely, like, season to have you in my life, right?
Mhm.
And part of, like, when I grew in or expanded, if you will, and again, not in an ego way, but part of it was, if I say this thing, I know this friend is going to react or respond this way, and I know I'm gonna lose this friend, but I can't
Mhm.
not say something. And it
Yeah.
would very slowly happen, and I was like, "Okay." But I also knew deep down that that was probably gonna happen, and so I said the thing in a timely manner when I was like, "I'm ready to, like, challenge our friendship and see if we can navigate these waters, and if we can't,
Yeah.
then I know,"
Yeah.
you know?
Yep.
Mhm. Will you tell us some of the so last night you put a Q&A up and you asked how what'd you say? How you were like, "I'll go first. What are the ways you've been gaslighted with
Mhm.
healthcare?" Right?
Mhm.
And you said some of the responses were really I'm like, "Did you share them? Like, are
I
we gonna
haven't shared
know?
them yet. I won't. Here, I can pull them up.
I need to know."
They were wild.
I can share the one that I posted or I put in the box. So I had an IUD for like 2, 3 years and I started bleeding every 2 weeks. And I was like, well, that's not fun. Who wants a period every 2 weeks? And everyone told me about this like wonderful OB in the city. She came highly, highly respected, very into HRT. Like everyone goes to her for all the things. And I was like, cool. Somehow I got a little spot in there. She was like, here, take some birth control. And I was like, I'm on birth control. I have an IUD. And she was like, no, no, take both and let me know if it resolves. And I was like, excuse me? That's not fixing the issue. Like, you
No.
just put a band aid on a wound. Like,
Mhm.
what? Like, no. I like did never went back there, did not pick up the prescription. And I was
Mhm.
like, you're if you trust yourself, you can trust your gut in terms of what doctors say to you. But I
Yeah.
truly believe that there's still this notion that we think doctors are like gods and what they say is
Mhm.
that's it, right?
Yeah.
Well, they must know, but they don't
Yes.
always know. They're
They don't
not
always
created.
know. They don't always know, and we're allowed to question what they
Yes.
say. Like, we're
Yes.
absolutely allowed to question. The one that I had shared was I got pregnant, 13 months after I had my first, and it was just a very difficult pregnancy. I had a syndrome where I found out later, like, after he was born, where all the ligaments in my pelvis like loosened at 11 weeks pregnant. And so when I would go from sitting to standing, I would get stuck. I would get stuck in a sitting position and it legitimately felt like my pelvis was breaking every time I would go from
Mm,
sitting to standing. So I
mm,
have a 13-month-old that I'm running around. I'm pregnant. I'm 11 weeks pregnant. And I go to my doctor and she's like, it'll resolve like when he's born. He's born, it doesn't resolve. It goes on for another year. And I come to find out that like what should have happened is that, or what could have happened is that I could have been referred for pelvic floor PT during my pregnancy.
yep.
That would have fixed it. That would have helped it. It would have strengthened my pelvic muscles and I would have been pain free. And that didn't happen. And I spent 2 years having really severe pelvic pain as I was pregnant, still breastfeeding again, like, the whole thing. Some of the
I mean,
things
if
that
that
people
doesn't
feel,
cause postpartum depression,
yeah.
I
And then I
mean,
had postpartum anxiety and
right?
depression. And
Like, my
yeah, I
gosh.
mean, it was, and my OB at the time was very respected in the community. It was wonderful. Aside from that, I absolutely loved her,
Yeah.
but it was just this, like, it happens in pregnancy sometimes, like, it is what it is.
You're like, "No, you're not listening."
Yeah, and I was like, "I don't know that you're hearing me, like, I can't physically by myself, like, when my husband is at work or not home, like, I can't get on the floor to be with my child and get up, like, and trust that I can get up if he runs away. Like, I don't know what I'm supposed to do." And it was
Yeah.
like,
She thought it
"Go
was just
out,
like
make
round
sure you listen
ligament
to me and go
pain.
out." Yeah, it
Yeah,
was not
like
there was
everyone else.
yeah, and there was no, like, "Are you okay?" Like, I get that, like, you're in pain, but, like, are you okay? Like, and I wasn't okay, I was very not okay.
No,
Yeah.
no.
Some of the things people I'm laughing, it's not funny. I can't get my period because I'm too fat. That is someone in their early 20s.
Someone
Uh-huh.
said that?
A doctor.
You're too
Getting pregnant,
fat.
too fat. Yeah.
That's horrible.
Uh-huh. Getting pregnant will heal endometriosis. One person just said the doctor said to them, "Maybe it's you."
Yeah, okay.
I can't even. You
To
need to
me,
stop.
that key phrase is maybe. It's like,
Maybe.
well,
Yeah.
maybe it's not me, so fucking help me figure it out, right?
One person said, in quotes, "You need to stop talking," while they were trying to explain their white coat syndrome. It did not help. White coat syndrome is essentially like when your blood pressure goes up when you're in the doctor's office because you're nervous. And
Yeah.
so, yeah, there's that. Cut out all carbs from my diet to help with my painful periods, and then was given a list of carbs. Uh-huh. What else? Pediatrician told me I should take a medication with psychotic side effects instead of supplementing formula. My milk was delayed after C-section. I was never assessed for postpartum anxiety. I mean, and the list goes on.
Fucking more,
Like,
I'm
it's,
sure.
and I think, like, those are just the first few that I looked at. You know what I mean?
Mhm.
And I think, like, what it speaks to is this ongoing theme that we as women just we're not believed. We're
Yeah,
not listened to, we're not
yeah,
considered,
yeah,
All of those examples were examples of things that are specific to women, right? Menstruation is specific to female-bodied people. You have
yes,
a uterus, you menstruate, right? If it doesn't apply to someone biologically born male, then we're just we're just not considered.
yeah, yeah. I
And
think that
that's
doctor did a very good job of very kindly pointing that out as well on the 60
what's
Minutes thing.
I like Peter Attia's work. There is like there's some controversy there, but as a whole, I like his work on longevity. It is not lost on me that we're having a conversation about women's health directed by a man.
Yeah, yeah, and look, everyone has some controversy, right? There's no one's
Sure.
perfect. Like, yeah, I and the woman there was a female who interviewed him. Very interesting.
hmm Because there
So,
are like women doing this work. Tamsin Fatal wrote a great book called The New Menopause that is like just so beautifully written,
yeah,
so applicable, even if you're not fully in menopause, like just as a woman to read about what hormonal health can look like, in from 35 on, right?
uh-huh.
There are people out there, there are women out there who are doing this work. And like that interview, while it was wonderful, it's still like I'm having a man explain to me what's happening in my body, like an experience
Totally.
that he will never have.
Totally. Totally. That's yeah, fucking wild.
hmm
Do you do you see people virtually or only in California?
I see people virtually, like through a coaching lens, and then I see people virtually and in person in California.
Okay. Will you tell everyone like a little bit more about what you do, things you offer and your clinic where they can find you and all the things,
Yeah.
please?
So in my therapy practice, I work from a lens of internal family system. So I do parts work with my clients. And it's essentially a lot about how all of our lived experiences create different parts inside of us and how those parts interact with one another, sometimes in really great, successful, beneficial ways, and sometimes in some maladaptive ways. And so I do that work. I work with couples, I work with individuals, I work with a lot of people who are in similar phases of life to me. So they're parenting, they're partnered, they're in transitional phases of life. I do some ketamine assisted therapy in my work. That's only in California and only in person. And Then in my coaching work, I do some executive coaching. One of my favorite things to do is to do like wellness in corporate environments
Yeah,
because I love going into teams of women and just being like, let's spill some tea. Like, let's talk about what's happening here, what's working for you and what's not. But it's where, like you said, like there is so much community in the workplace. And I think that's often lost on us. Like it's often lost that like there is a built-in community here of people that you're spending so much time with. So let's talk about how we can support one another and how we can work together to change systems that maybe aren't working. So
totally.
I do some of that work and people can find me. My practice name is the Process Wellness Collective. Find me there. They can find me at saharmartinez.com. And yeah, that's it.
And you're on Instagram and all the places too.
Yes, at Dr. Sahar Martinez.
Yes. Thank you for having just a lovely chat with me today about like all the things. We went all over the place.
I loved every minute of
I knew we would.
it. It
I
was like
knew
a
we
peek into our voice notes.
I know. Totally.
Yeah.
Keep them coming. I love
Ditto.
these voice notes. Well, thank you for being here.
Thank you for having
And yes, and for sharing everything that you have. I know this will be very enlightening for a lot of our audience and just give them things to think on, process, and kind of like chew on, Where
Yeah.
maybe they're like, yes, yes, I'm there. Like, thank you, So thank you. And until next time, XOXO, Dr. B.